Hi, and welcome back. I'm Dr. Sincee Callahan with Simply Sincee, and I'm a metaphysician, chancellor with ELU. And previously, we were talking about family. So we want to continue with that discussion, and I want to introduce you to a new couple of co-hosts, and that is Judy and Dom Salino. These are colleagues of mine, and we're going to just continue the discussion about family. And I want to give you a little bit of background with Dom Salino because, he's going to come in with kind of a religious perspective because he recently detached from religion. And I know there's a lot of people in the audience who are struggling with some of the things in family and religion. So I think we might want to steer this, and this is his devoted wife, Judy, and I don't know if that's the right word, but that's the word that's coming to me. And so I'd like to talk about family from the perspective, maybe like the attachment of religion and the structure and how it's been changed or broken up because of religion. Because in religion today, that when I grew up as a Catholic person, there was a structure to the family: husband, wife, children, and all the other parts that went along with that. In that group, we had grandparents and uncles and aunts, and there was a thing about respect. But today in our society, well, I want to go back and say this one thing. When I grew up, the family was, kind of instructed to stay home. It was difficult to get a divorce. You needed to get counseling. You needed to try to work your family out. But in today's society, in religion, things have changed. Now you've got two of the same sex parents. You've got all kind of chaos in the family. You've got churches that are not following what their doctrine is and changing it to accommodate whatever it is. You've got people popping up, creating their own Catholic society that's different from the one that in the book that they still use to say that it's whatever it is. So there's a lot of chaos coming from the religious perspective. So if you guys, can kind of maybe talk to the audience, talk to someone who's kind of struggling with that, because I know in your own family situation, you have situations where you've got same-sex marriage, in some of your family, and there's some kind of chaos going on with that, with how people feel from a religious perspective. So, for our viewers, can you enlighten them? And either one of you can start.
You want to start?
Sure. If you want to take it from as Sincee said, I was a deacon in the Catholic Church for a number of years. I left the diaconate and the church a few years ago, just because I found a better truth, something that I could really identify with, and that really defines who I am. But in the church, there's a space between men and women, husband and wives. It says in the Bible that women should be subservient to their husbands and things like that. It's almost like a not a good thing. And even with the hierarchy of the church, it's totally male dominated. There's no women points of view in it. So everything is run by men, and I think more or less for men. And that creates a very big disconnect. And it's something that's very hard to overcome within the family, because a lot of men who were raised up in the Catholic Church kind of have that in the back of their mind. I'm the man. I make the decisions. You will do what I say when I want. It goes back to women should be barefoot and pregnant. And that's really not. That's just not right. A couple has to be respectful of each other. They have to accept each other. In the previous podcast, talked about the difference of men and women, but and there is a difference, but there is a lot of things that have to be done together as husband and wife. And that's something that the church really has a hard time defining.
Yeah, when you being raised in the Catholic Church as well, I had an experience myself that was my father didn't agree with something that the church was very strong about reproductive. My father, loved my mother, but my mother was very fertile, and so kids were popping out faster than he can afford them. And so he asked for help from the church, and the church said no. You just have to be abstinent. And so it really rubbed him the wrong way. So when I was brought up in the church, I was like that Norman Rockwell picture with Dad sitting on the wingback chair reading the newspaper. Mom's got dressed up, and all the kids behind her going off to church alone. So there was a skewed view about what is the role of man and woman in the church. The men in the church were the priests, and they were put on a pedestal. When I met Dom, his father was good friends with the pastor of his church, and he'd come over the house for dinner. And I mean, there was so much difference between how he was raised in the Catholic Church and how I was raised in the Catholic Church, which left my siblings confused about it as well. And so some of them left the church and found a different Christian religion and then started bashing the church. And so, there was just a lot of confusion, even just with how we were raised and where we went from that being raised. And, that whole thing about being subservient, it's funny because I just had this conversation with a good friend of mine, and, that's still what the church believes today, that women are supposed to just do whatever the man tells them. They don't have a voice, and that's not true. Women have a voice.
I have a question for the viewers who have two mothers, so these are two women raising kids, so I don't understand how the church views that. What is that really all about? Right. If the church is, as you said, the men is this and that, and women should be subservient, I think maybe that's what women are talking about. We are equal. Maybe it comes from that religious perspective that, we are equal to men, that we don't have to bow down and do everything they say, that we need to have a conversation and be mutual about what we decide to do as a family. I'm not sure, but maybe that's what this movement is coming from, this religious perspective, because a lot of it is based on religion, all this change, but, you were talking about the differences in how you were raised as Catholics, because I was raised Catholic, and my Catholic upbringing was different from both of you. So, there's a whole lot of stuff going on. But basically, the question that I'm asking is, in society today, there are a lot of people that are struggling in their families because the views of whatever their religion, it could be Christianity or Judaism or Hindu. Some of these religions have not flexed, but the two that I mentioned, Judaism and Catholicism, they've moved all around, and all the different sets that follow, the two of those, how is that affecting family today? Because we talk about identifying who you are, and if you're attached to a religion, how can you identify who you are and have principle when that religion is constantly changing its principles and finding new scriptures or verses or paraphrasing and creating new books to redefine itself constantly? So to our viewers, because I know there's a lot of people that are just confused about family structure, So with someone with your background and some of the things that are literally going on in your family with family structure, how can you help someone in our audience who is just kind of struggling with, who am I? How do I identify myself? How do I see the truth in me and be able to make decisions about what a family circle should be, detached from somebody else's thoughts, creative thoughts? What kind of guidance could you give someone, one of our viewers, based on your personal experience? Because you guys were counseling people. And, we had this discussion, I'm going to say it out to everybody, that you were counseling people, helping them with their relationships when you hadn't even really identified your own. And that's a part of family destruction, actually, when you look at it. So what kind of guidance, even to someone who is in a religion, but Catholic religion or some other religion, where they feel that they have to go to someone in the church or the organization that they were part of to get permission for how they run their family. I want to get married, but you've got to get marriage counseling from 2 counselors who don't even understand marriage. So how do you help someone based on your own experience? What kind of guidance and advice? I know you have it because we talk about it all the time.
Yeah, for me, I had to learn what it's like to be a man, what it is to be a man. And that is to be a provider and protector and learn how to do that, learn what that means. And it's not something that I learned growing up based on my own personal family dynamic. So it's something that I had to learn, And again, the Catholic Church is very male-dominated. When you go to church on Sunday, all you see on the altar are men, and you only get that perspective. And women don't learn the female perspective from the church because it's just not there, And so that creates a disconnect, I think, between the family, to where there's a space to where what I say goes.
And that's how we lived our life. Whatever he said goes. And so I changed who I was to fit into your world when it wasn't who I really was. Mm-hmm. And so how I learned how to move past that and to find out who I truly am was by making lists. And I had a list that, of the things I liked and the things I didn't like. And I couldn't even answer that in the beginning because I was just so conditioned to just whatever he said, because that's what the church said, be subservient, whatever he said, So sitting with that list was not simple for me. And then I did a list of, what will I tolerate and what will I not tolerate? Well, I tolerated a heck of a lot. And did I really want to tolerate all of that? And then as those things became more clear to me, that's when I was able to set some principles that didn't defy him, but helped him to be more respectful of me. First of all, respecting myself enough to speak my truth. And second of all, teaching by my example of how I was speaking my truth to help him understand why I was doing these things. So if that's the first place to start, is to figure out who you are, is to just really...
And when Judy's first started doing that, I was very threatened.
Yeah.
Because, this is something that I just didn't understand. And as she continued to learn who she was and to grow into who she was, I realized that was something that I really neglected or needed. It's something I just didn't have. So it's something that I needed to learn. And then it wasn't until really through seeing you that I learned how to do the same things. Make a list, learn who I am, learn principle, live by those principles, be truthful, totally open, that I was able to realize the beauty in her, because I really just didn't see it.
So, for our viewers, those of you who are struggling with trying to understand what the family is, from whatever your religious attachment is, that there is a structure, and for those, who are going to, where when you go to your church leaders or I'm not even sure what to call them anymore, but when you go for guidance, you want to have a clear understanding of what family is and what you are really asking for. And you want to be able to say, I accept this or I don't accept it. And, in our society today, the one thing that I see in religion is, that the structure has changed. Now you've got 2 mothers, 2 fathers. You've got in families where, growing up in a Catholic family, that if one person abused a child, there was a cover-up, or it's okay, go over here and ask for forgiveness, and all that stuff like that. So the thing that, that I would want you to be able to share with our viewers is, if you find yourself in a situation that's not whole in your family, that you have to look within yourself and come up with the truth of who you are and be able to see that there is a wholeness to a family. Male, female, that doesn't say you want to be in a family like the one Dom described, where maybe the woman is being abused and the children are being abused. That's not fair. I know some religions will say it's okay, go pray, it'll be all right later. It never gets okay. But what advice do we give to you to help you to realize that there is a real true importance in family? I'm going to use this simple word because it should work with every religion. I'm just going to say God, whatever you want. I like creator of all things. That's my best way of describing it. So you have a creator of all things that has allowed you to have life in a place, in a family structure that everyone should grow into value from. So if you find yourself in a situation, that's attached to religion and you're afraid to make the change or communicate or do something in that religion, in that structure because of religion, what we're sharing with you is that you want to first define yourself.
Hi, I'm Dave Stenzel, and welcome to Enterlight University School of Metaphysics. Just the fact that you've clicked on this link and shows that you're on a journey of self-discovery. Well, at Enterlight University, we have a full curriculum to help you learn who you are as soul, to help you develop principles and find some direction in your life where you can use that to help others find their track for living a life of fulfillment.
Decide who you are. And once you find the strength in that, then you look at the members that you have allowed to pass through, and you have to help them to find strength and courage and identify who they are, communicate with the other spouse. It could be the male or the female. But sit down and create a strong family circle, and don't make the church the first circle, or don't make the organization, whether it's church or politics or educate, whatever it might be. The family circle is the actual human beings in the life, the mother, the father, the children. And you sit down and you stop for a moment and you just say, move the church aside, move the politics aside, move this aside, we're here now in this circle. So how do we make it the best circle that we can? And what we're saying is don't go outside of that family circle. That first circle is you sit there and you decide who you are. And you make the decisions of what you like and what you don't like. And then you wrap that first circle with a second circle. And in that second circle, it is not the priest, the pastor, the bishop, the whoever you want to, it is the people that you trust to take care of the people in the first circle. Mm-hmm. And that is how we begin to build a strong family.
Yeah, the first circle, like you said, is first. And the first step one is learning to love and respect yourself. Mm-hmm. And then when you love and respect yourself, then you can learn and respect your wife, your children, and your first circle.
And I want to say identify yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You have to identify who you are, because if you can't identify yourself, you're never going to love or respect yourself or anybody else. You have to be able to look yourself in your own mirror and see the truth. And whatever you don't like, if you choose to change it, it's going to benefit everybody in that space. Mm-hmm. And once you see who you actually are, you may take a look at yourself and say, I am just a miserable human being. I never even realized what a terrible person I was and how controlling and destructive I've been to my family. If you look in that mirror and you see that, and you say you want to be in love with the people that are in your circle, then the change starts with you. Mm-hmm. But you tell the circle that, look, I just realized who I am. Oh my goodness. I thought I was everything that I'm not.
And you can do that.
And here's how I'm going to, in this circle, literally sit down, husband, wife, and make this work. I think marriage is important, because it shows that a sense of commitment that I am willing to work at this. I don't think marriage should be temporary. I do know that sometimes we don't choose the right mate, or there's an experience we need with someone when we need to get out of the situation. But I don't think we need to be critical about it. I think we need to stand up, face it truthfully, see what was good and what wasn't good, and move forward, not taking that same old stuff, and being able to make better decisions in the next relationship that we have. I know one of the things that we don't pay a lot of attention to are the relationships that we have. We meet a person and we have all these expectations for them, not seeing them as a person themselves. And we want to change them and maneuver them and control them and whatever we try to do. But when we identify with who we are, then we see ourselves as soul and we see the others the same way. Then we can start to build something great. What's happening in our society is we just don't stop. We don't know who we are. And that's why we get in these situations and we get manipulated and we have all this chaos that we have in our world today. It's so simple. It's really an easy fix. Just stop. Who are you? Be truthful. Make the changes that will make you feel best and move forward. Don't try to manipulate and control anyone. Just understand who you are and unfold into where you need to be.
And this can be done at any stage in life.
Any stage in life.
You know, Judy and I learned it at this stage of our life. And one of the reasons
After how
for
many
doing
years
this,
of marriage?
42.
Yeah.
And this can be done at any stage for families of any age. The principles are all the same. It's just taking the time and the desire and the love of each other to do it, to learn the principles
And
to
being
learn
truthful.
who you are. Oh yeah.
Being truthful.
Oh yeah.
That's very important when you're doing self-discovery, when you're identifying yourself. There is an absolute truth about you. And that is something that you have to be able to see very clearly. You have to be able to see, this is who I am. I like me. I don't like me. And make the changes accordingly if you choose to. There is, I don't want anybody to feel like their life is wrong and they have to because we say it, because I know that in religion, people gravitate to that kind of energy. It's like, they said it, I want to do it, I'm going to do it exactly that way. You have to look at a situation, take what is valuable for your situation, and unfold it.
Right.
No, there is no A, B, C, D. The alphabet's all, you know what the alphabets are. So we're going to go with numbers. The numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however you arrange them, not in somebody else's sequence, because every soul has its own unique journey. And because of that, it's not going to need everything that's on that list. It just needs what it needs, and then it needs to rearrange it to suit the life that it's creating. And I don't know if that made sense to anybody but me. But what I'm actually saying is the things that we were telling you about identifying yourself and seeing who you are and having principles, you want to take that and rearrange it in a way that makes you comfortable and whole so that you can unfold and make a better family circle. We have to start here. We used to have this thing about everything starts at home, but some kind of way we let that go. But I think we need to get back to home. What is home? Let's redefine, or let's find out what home is to us. It's not just a house and a place where everybody go and gather and do whatever they want. We have to have structure. You have to have structure, especially when you are rearing children. Are we going to continue to have more and more chaos and everybody crying because they can't have their way? We have to be able to teach things that are important. For parents, what are the stages of development for your little one? Don't you know? Do you want to know? When you have a baby, don't you want to know why it's doing what it's doing, when it's doing it? There is a reason for everything, but most parents are like, oh, they look so cute in that outfit. Oh, I want to do this. My baby is within a 9-month period is what you want to say. This is the first stage of development. I know. Everybody's got a different number for the first stage of development. I'm just going to say the first 9 months of life are absolutely critical. People have babies and I got to get to work. The baby doesn't care if you have a fancy car. The baby wants to eat. It wants you to teach it in those first 9 months how to trust, how to have security, how to respect. And the way you do that is when that baby cries, it's trying to tell you something doesn't feel good. So you're going to make sure the baby feels good by changing the diaper, making them feel comfortable in their space, feeding them. That's usually all they want. And when you do that in a timely manner, you're really teaching your child structure. You're teaching them respect. You're teaching them that they can trust you and depend on you in a 9-month period. That's what you're teaching. And in that 9-month period, your family structure should be defined so that the people that come in and the people who can fill in a space exactly the way you do, the people that can love and nurture that being. And then the next stage and the next stage. And I'm saying this to a lot of mothers, and I'm talking to the actual nurturer, that there is a purpose for us to be able to bring these little ones in a particular way, because while we're nurturing these little ones, we need to do it in a safe, protective environment. And that's where the two sides meet, the male and the female. But the importance of this conversation today is that we don't recognize the importance of family. And I think we could solve a lot of the problems in the world when we realize who we are in our own little circles first and work diligently at developing family, in the structure of how we come into it. It's a reproductive planet. I grew up Catholic. Everybody had at least 8 kids.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's practical anymore. But what I am saying is that it's important to realize the importance of how we grow our family, and the importance of having the souls that come through be able to communicate with other souls that have come before them that care for them. And it teaches them how to love in a whole way. And I guess I could use that Catholic word, a more divine way, I love talking about family. I'm real passionate about it all the time, but extremely now because I've got a bunch of little grandbabies coming up. And I have 6 grandkids. I can't believe I have 6 grandkids. But, the ones that I have opportunity to live with, they're just helping me to unfold. I mean, I know so much about this, but the more I'm in the circle with them, watching them grow, the more I want to make sure my structure is firm and we are understood as a whole. And the importance of these little ones will grow up to be big ones someday, and they'll have little ones too. So I'm wanting everyone to be able to just see the importance of that family circle. And I want to, before we leave, I want you guys, if you have some parting words, if there's some guidance for the audience.
Well, we've said it already.
Okay.
It's identifying who I am, loving myself, respecting myself, and then being able to share that love, with your partner and your family, and living a life based on principles, and that's based on truth, kindness, and fairness,
And respect for each other.
I want to just mention a couple of words here that we were talking. Who are you? And what is your intent? And what are you creating as a family? I want you to really think about that. What is your intent for family? And what you are creating as a family? I think that's vital. And I know that we don't think about that. So I want to leave you with that. And I want to thank you for joining us today. This was awesome. Go make great family. We'll see you soon.